and I'll remind you that they're not responsible for everything that's in North West Stevens documents, they're just the professional officers.
I wonder if it might be sensible if Councillor Brown and Clegg had anything to do with the thing, whether the first question might be sensible coming from. Is Councillor Brown?
He's scared of his glasses. I think he would like to leave.
Somebody else might be willing to start with a question.
Right, so we'll try for the table now have a chance of a question. Who would like to ask a question first?
Can you just introduce yourself?
Yes, if you want.
Sorry, I do apologise.
Nick Feltham, Principal Planning Officer at North West Stevens District Council.
My name is Phil Lealy, I'm Area Planning Officer at North West Stevens District Council.
Right, while everybody thinks about questions, can you tell me the importance of what we submitted to the outline planning stage? You know, the things that we need to make sure we're in the final plan.
In terms of your comments as a town council, I think one of the things that obviously we can't dictate to you what comments you actually do present to us ultimately, and that's entirely down to your own decisions. But clearly we have to deal with planning applications on the basis of material planning matters, and those are generally set out in terms of they can cover a number of issues, so they can deal with highways implications, noise, amenity, principle of development, how developments are assessed in terms of planning and policy, ecology, landscape and visual impact. In the case of this particular planning application at Sleaford West, the applicants have provided an environmental statement. So the planning application is supported by an environmental statement which we've been involved in discussing and agreeing the scope of at pre-application stage. So one of the things which you may, as a council, want to comment on are the various chapters in the environmental statement which set out how they think their site accords with various environmental tests and policies. So that's something that, at your own discretion, you may wish to comment on whether you agree with any elements of the environmental statement or the other reports that are submitted as well, which include transport assessment and some suggested costs for infrastructure delivery, so things like school provision, healthcare, employment provision, that sort of thing. So there is a wealth of information, a raft of information with the planning application, a lot of it to get through, including that environmental statement. We don't get many planning applications that have an environmental statement. They tend to be reserved for the more strategically involved schemes that we deal with. So that may be a good starting point for you in terms of your review.
Thank you very much.
If we ignore the benefits that the people that will live in the urban extension will actually achieve, because it's meant to be sustainable, so absolutely everything they need is going to be there. I will press you in terms of whether it's going to be there when you want it or whether it's going to be there at some later stage, when demand is there and it's sufficient to actually move that infrastructure into place. But ignoring all those sorts of issues, what does the rest of Sleaford get out of it?
Well, we're not here to promote the planning application. We're here to sort of answer any procedural questions that you might have about the scheme. In terms of how the scheme sits, in terms of Sleaford's role or growth in terms of central Lincolnshire, where it sits in the hierarchy of the districts, and also the central Lincolnshire plan that's being developed. That plan does identify an amount of growth for the town of around about 4,500 houses over the next 20 years. And the urban extensions, one of which has permission already, is Sleaford South, are two of those.
What has happened is that there is a certain number of houses that need to go in the district. It's where you put them, and Sleaford is the best place to put them.
Yes.
I don't think it's that Sleaford requires that growth itself. It's a slightly different way. That's one way you might want to present it, but I don't believe that is the case. It's a question of where you put them. And the only place that's got any infrastructure is Sleaford. So you put them in Sleaford, but I do wonder what Sleaford actually gets out of it itself. You might not be here to answer that question, and I would demand that you would do, so it's all right.
Well,
Go try and answer it, because point out that you
I think
need to do that.
you know what we do have at the moment is I suppose a crossover between the local plan that's been adopted, the 2007 local plan that we worked to, and the emerging Central Lincolnshire plan. This is one of those urban extensions that fits within the site promoted through the Central Lincolnshire plan. And with that, within the Central Lincolnshire plan, it sets out the rationale as to why, as authorities, we believe that urban extensions provide the most sustainable way of delivering housing and infrastructure that goes with it. So,
but the issue I was trying to raise is if it's a sustainable urban extension, and it is almost self-contained in terms of the issues that it causes and the infrastructure that goes with it that resolves those issues. You could say then that Sleaford doesn't get very much out of it itself, the remaining part of Sleaford. You'd probably say, there's no need for them going to Sleaford, there's no need for them play in Sleaford because they've got all their own things, but it doesn't mean that Sleaford doesn't then get anything out of the urban extension itself as well, although I don't see how you can self-contain all the traffic issues that come with the urban extension. But I'm not lighting it and I'm not going to.
Yeah, so I've got Councillor Lorimer and Councillor Titmus.
Thank you, Chair. We did have a report done by consultancy, apart from looking at the plans. Now, I've got a few brief questions. It said that there'll be schools and a health centre at the very early stages of the development, or we'll get another Gravely scenario. And I do know Gravely's well for different reasons. Now, the roundabout it's predicted that it will be constructed after phase 1 of the first 201 houses. Now, logically, if you're going to do that, and you've already got your healthcare and your schools in place, there's going to be traffic issues. It's suggested that after 50 houses, perhaps, the actual roundabout should be constructed. The access via the Drove is going to be restricted to public services and emergency services with a bus gate, which is one narrow lane added in. But surely, until this roundabout's constructed, you're going to have people coming back. So there's going to be a build-up of traffic. Another concern is that while the first phase is being developed, St Denis Avenue and Stokes Drive are going to have all the works traffic going up and down these small estates. Why is the roundabout not being constructed before phase 1? Why is that not being constructed first?
Thank you very much.
Yeah, one of the areas that the transport assessment has identified is that the two roads to the east, so Stokes and St Denis, are sort of nominally capable of accommodating around about 200 houses worth of traffic, for want of a better word, without resulting in the need for additional off-site work, so off-site highways improvements. So the reason why the phasing has been developed in that way is to allow that first section of development, phase 1A as it were, of 200 houses, to be developed and accessed from the existing roads to the east of the site. The intention then that we're being told is that the roundabout is not then required until 200 dwellings, i.e. as soon as that first phase is completed. In terms of construction vehicle access, the applicants are actually proposing that Stokes and St Denis are not used for any form of construction vehicle access at all.
Right.
Now their plans are to create a temporary haul road directly from the A15 to service the site. So that haul road would come into the site from the A15, cut across the site to the phase 1 area, and the housing would be built out from that haul road. We're still waiting comments from Lincolnshire County Council to see what their views are about the temporary construction of a haul road from the A15. So that's something that we don't have the answers to. One of the other reasons, and it comes down to general development viability, not just this site. One of the reasons why developers are often keen to have a certain amount, a small-scale amount of development delivered early, is because that generates the cash flows that are required then to invest into bigger pieces of infrastructure, such as roundabouts. So it's fairly commonplace that developers will look for a certain restricted amount of early development to generate cash flow to then invest into highway works or a bridge or a roundabout, because the tendency is that those large seven-figure items of infrastructure generally can't be provided from day one. So it's about having a balance between those real-life viability considerations as well.
Thank you.
Right, so there's Councillor Titmus. Can councillors try to keep the question short?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sure we've all got a lot of questions to ask me and the team. Can I suggest that Councillor Brand, if he's happy, could ask his questions first, because he may have perhaps, consolidated them all together.
Well, thank you, Councillor Dixon. Thank you, Chair, if you allow me to do that. It's not so much about questions, but it's about the legitimate concerns, in our opinion, for the residents and indeed the greater residents of Sleaford. There are, in our opinion, 3 agencies involved. That's not just the developers, it's also NKDC and Lincolnshire County Council. And our feeling at the moment is there are not sufficient safeguards built into what is indeed, as you correctly say, a very comprehensive set of plans which we have before us, in terms of actually protecting Sleaford and indeed the environs which will be affected by the development. Picking up upon my colleague's comment about the roundabout, well, in a sense, to tie it simply to the number of houses is insufficient, and we will be pressing, I'm sure, that there's much more stringent safeguards built in to the plan, so that it's not just simply based upon the number of houses, because of course other developments could be happening at the same time, which would increase traffic flow into and around that area. So it shouldn't just be based upon the number of houses. And throughout the sort of development phases, we will be looking for much stronger safeguards built in terms, again, we're talking about what is going to be the flow of traffic down the road ultimately. What are the safeguards really going to be to stop traffic moving down there? Because at the moment we don't believe it is sufficient. Let alone, dare I say, that not just in Sleaford but nationally, when we watch these grand plans with the lovely architectural features which are shown, we are cynical as a nation about this being fulfilled, because we have seen time and time again that 5-10 years on, well, NKDC hasn't actually built the school, so can we turn it over to how? So we want far more safeguards built in, and then, see, no one's actually saying we don't want the development, we want the safeguards. And that's what we're looking to you to do. Thank you.
Councillor Titmus.
Can I ask a question myself then? It's about the school. I mean, you have a school there. Is it an indicative school in the sense that it's just, we know there's going to be increasing population for students and therefore we need extra school places? And how does that fit in with the aspiration of the Robert Card Trust to produce a fairly large school, combining both the high school and the grammar school on the western side of the A15, just by where that roundabout is likely to go? Is that part of your plan?
The school site, in terms of the primary school site, first of all, the primary school site is proposed to serve mainly the urban extension itself. So it would be a 2-form entry primary school with a construction cost of around about £3.7 million that would be built primarily for the site. So it would have about 420 school places. So there would be some available capacity for other developments around Sleaford to put some of their pupils into that primary school as and when it opens. In terms of the secondary school, very much the Sleaford West site is looking to accommodate an education facility of around about 700 places. So it's at the lower end of what you would operate as a secondary school. It's very much one of the smaller model secondary schools that you would have. Now those discussions are still ongoing about the actual use of the school. One option may be this, it actually serves as a sixth form function, as a shared facility for the town. It simply isn't known in detail yet exactly who will be the owners and operators of the school. But in terms of the scheme to the west of the bypass that you just talked about, that is very much a separate consideration. You'll note that the access plans, the roundabout design onto the A15 does not include for access into the land west of the A15. It simply deals with promoting access into this site itself. And the secondary school site within the urban extension is provided for the growth of the town. So it is in no way sort of predicated or reliant upon future decisions of the selected schools in the town.
If I might say, though, just a sort of final adjunct to it, there is a huge impact there where the schools are, because I think Sleaford punches above its weight as regards to schools, no doubt about it. There are a large number of students in the town. It has a major impact on traffic problems that we have in Sleaford at certain times of the day. And the fact that you're going to possibly have most of the schooling in a particular area might actually be helpful for the traffic problems and the transport system we have in town. It's just a thought we need to keep in mind. Thank you.
Councillor Charleswood?
Yeah, this may be a short answer, which may be no, but I did go to a meeting in Lincoln last week, and concerning the other end of the age band in terms of pressure by organisations and central government to ask whether we will be having later life housing in our areas and to push for that. Is that going to be a feature of these 1,400 houses? And if so, how do you ensure that there are local GP surgeries for those people that will be close to living them? If the answer is no, fine, but that's the question I would ask. Okay.
Yeah, there'll be an element of retirement, extra care within the service.
You can't guarantee the GP services because we've had these guarantees before and they've never appeared.
The health centres, the National Health Service have commented on the application. They asked for a full contribution towards a health centre within the site. And that's all part of their strategy for Sleaford moving forward. They're committed to that piece of infrastructure coming forward.
Yeah, we were promised that at Ellingham Grange and it never materialised, and our worry is it was all going to go to the 1,400,000, then we were worried that that might disappear until then, and we're going to go to some of the development that we haven't heard of yet. That is a concern, anyway. That was what I was asked.
The NHS's involvement in this site is almost twofold, really. They've been working with the council on a health strategy for the town, and the health strategy identifies that they need a site of a certain size to accommodate an expanded or an improved NHS facility service for the town. Now, Sleaford West has been identified as a prime site for that half a hectare of land that they need to be able to build that enhanced healthcare facility for the town. Now, that facility is not to cater purely for Sleaford West, it's to cater for the growth of the town. So not only is this site providing land for the physical building, but it would also provide a proportionate contribution to the capital build costs. As you might also remember from the Sleaford South urban extension and the recent approval for the Larkfield development on Grantham Road, those two sites have already contributed to payments that are being pulled towards the Sleaford West provision. So there's been some forward thinking in terms of identifying land and then pulling monies to build the facility. But ultimately that is being driven by the NHS. Not necessarily the
and then getting the doctors in to actually come and sit in them.
Yeah.
I've got three further questions. We've got Councillor Brady Cook, followed by Councillor McCallum, followed by Councillor Graves, I believe it was, and Councillor Fernandez.
I just wanted to know how the pupils are going to get down to these schools. Are the buses going to be put on?
Are they proposing that they walk? Will there be, because there's bound to be, the parents are going to take them to the untold traffic problems. And the other question I've got is, what have NKDC got in place, or what do you propose to do to bring better shops and such to this town? Because if not, if you don't do anything, we are just going to be one huge, huge housing estate with nothing. And that is quite concerning, I think.
I mean, in relation to the latter, I mean, I suppose we have to differentiate between what we're dealing with as a planning application, which is promoting various uses, which includes a local centre of shops and a community centre to serve primarily the urban extension. In relation to what it's doing about the town, I mean, there's a number of initiatives that the Council's Economic Development team are looking at the moment, working with yourselves on in terms of the Heart of Sleaford project, scheme around the marketplace. As you know, we've got a grant scheme in place looking at shop front improvements. We've already had, we've got a retail study, a retail piece of work that's been done on our behalf by a consultant that's looking at targeting investment in other parts of the town. What we know is that retailers, commercial companies will generally look at population levels and activity within town in terms of making those investment decisions. It's a general assumption that where you have an increase in the growth in population, which Sleaford has had traditionally, large levels of growth, they tend to make investment more attractive and more viable for people to come and invest in the town. So that's a piece of work that our economic development team are working on, very much in terms of promoting that investment.
We don't want what we've got now with Greyleys, and even though Greyleys is a part of Sleaford, they don't necessarily look on themselves as a part of Sleaford. It's we've got a divide. We don't want to have a 3-tiered or even a 4 when you get the rest of them. It needs to be cohesive and it needs to pull it all together.
Yeah.
And for that, you've got to have the town centre.
Yeah, I think that's part of this application as well. It's not ensuring that what comes forward as part of the local centre, the retail units, is option of a hotel as well, potentially within there, ensuring that they are not of a scale which potentially undermines Sleaford town centre as a city centre, that they are of a scale that's appropriate to that development.
Right, I've been reminded we need to get on, so can I give Councillor McCallum his chance, then Councillor Reeves and Councillor Fernandez and all.
You're right. Most of my working life is involved with highways construction. I believe that the minimum you would have to do to make this whole road safe is a left out only. So
yes. Yeah, I think that's what the transport assessment is saying. So left in only whole road. Yeah.
And I worked with Scansbury, and that's one company.
The LCC are unlikely to want turning traffic from A15.
Left out.
I think I would do that as a driver.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, Councillor Reeves. Councillor Reeves.
Can I ask 3 questions really? Has both these urban extensions gone through the traffic model? Because last time I asked it hadn't.
Yes, they have. Yeah, the Sleaford South application went through the traffic model with and without the Sleaford South East regeneration schemes being in place. The Sleaford West application has gone through the traffic model on the back of the planning permission for Sleaford South, so that the cumulative impacts are and have been modelled already by Highways, and the report has been produced. We haven't had their final version yet back from Highways, but it has been completed.
And as the previous traffic model, will that be shared with us as a council?
The model itself.
The results.
Yeah, the traffic model results actually will form part of LCC's response. So they will give a response setting out their comments, and they will give a summary of their traffic modelling report.
Are this one and the other one, are either of those developments making a direct contribution towards infrastructure within the town centre and facilities within the town centre?
Well, the Sleaford South scheme in terms of highways contributions contributes around about, I think it's about £1.6 million through the legal agreement in terms of sustainable transport measures which could be spent anywhere within the town. But those measures are generally as identified in the Sleaford Transport Strategy. So that could include works within the town centre. They don't contribute to any of the, I suppose, non-highways works within the town centre because that would be a direct impact of the development. So contributions have to be proportionate and directly related to the development. But there is a sustainable transport pot, again, which is being added to by a number of developments to try and address holistic cumulative highway impacts.
And declaring an interest in I am a governor of the school, how with both urban extensions do you intend to balance the introduction of those schools? Because the school that I'm a governor of would have an impact if we lost 10 or 20 pupils, and you can't bring half a school on, or you can bring one form entry, but you can't bring half a classroom on. Yeah. And so those numbers and the way finances for all schools are being stacked up at the moment are delicate. So at what point do you bring in, because and most of the schools in Sleaford, certainly primary schools, are probably 95, 96, 97% full.
Yeah.
So how do you bring those schools on board or not during the period of development of both urban extensions? Because that is going to be a fair balancing act to bring those schools on board and not actually pull pupils out of the existing primary schools or have too many pupils within there. And as I say, as I'm sure you're aware, schools get paid on their number on roll at any given time. They don't pay for all 420 pupils whether you've got them or not. So how do you propose to do that, or how do you ensure that that flows through?
Well, each of the two urban extensions has its own primary school allocation of 2 elementary primary school. The Education Authority have told us that those sites need to be delivered early, so a service site needs to be delivered to around about 100 houses, purely because of the need to then engage the consultants to build the school and then to start gathering the contributions to build the bricks and mortar. Now, the Education Authority have been very clear that the schools cater primarily for those 2 extensions on their own. Therefore, there won't be any draw from either the other urban extension or existing schools existing primary schools within Sleaford. So it would be down to the Education Authority to advise us and to be satisfied that when they open single forms of entry, that is predicated on the population that's within the urban extension and only is there to accommodate primarily the people that are living on site that generate that demand on site for those classrooms. So there's going to be, I think from the Education Authority's perspective, there will need to be some careful planning about timings, but we know from experience that they need the sites to be made available early because of the lead-in time to physically build and to get the finances in place.
Right, Councillor Fernandez.
Well, first of all, my main concern is the drainage. I do not want a fountain in my toilet. I need those drainage items dealt with at pre-planning, because in other places you've had this. In certain areas around here, the drainage, manholes must not be on the road, because as soon as the rain goes in, they go straight down the manholes. Manhole covers and straight in and come out the other end, as you noted. Well, you've probably seen already. So that's one of my main things. So now I'll carry on with the rest of it. You said that housing in Sleaford, we are only, according to the LCC plan, we only need 6% demand, whereas Lincoln and all that area up there is on 15. The Drove. The Drove and London Road, for instance, we have got a traffic problem that goes all the way from Tesco's to the Holdingham roundabout. Now, if you want to go down the Drove at this moment, you won't be able to in any truck whatsoever. Oh, also, the fire engine is not allowed to use the bridge.
Can you be a bit more precise in the question?
I'm sorry, I'm just giving information at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay? The main, you've already dealt with the roundabout. I do not understand how a roundabout can cost so many millions, where in the third world they have an oil drum and a bit of paint. Schools, are you going to be paying the transport fare from the railway station to the schools? We already got people from Sleaford going to North Highcombe and Ruskington for their schools. We have already been told by the NHS that they will not be funding any more items in Sleaford because they haven't got the money to do Health of Holding and Lee. So I don't know where you're going to get that money from.
Okay then.
The main thing is jobs.
Can you get to your question?
Right. Where is the green space for the recreation ground for the whole of that area? You've got 1,400
looking at your plan
houses.
wall. The plan, the green space, that plan is indicative, but what it
Where
shows
is,
is...
yeah, you've got all the blue space. Where is the large green space?
Well, it's the southern boundary of the plan, obviously.
That is the school.
The school playing fields on the southern boundary are in that position. The school and the playing fields are in that position in effect because of the floodplain constraints. So the flood zone that covers the.
So it's all right if they get over, the school gets flooded?
No, the school land itself is on raised land. So the area to the south of that, where the pitches are is proposed to be used as a dual usage open space area for the school, and then outside of the school hours, and obviously some of the additional land right beyond the pitches would be accessible 24 hours a day effectively. But that's the focus of the outdoor space.
Just this bit. If you raise the ground, the rest of the housing downstream, which is the town council, the town centre, will get flooded. And it's already been proven everywhere else.
There's a flood risk.
Our colleagues are not on trial here.
Sorry.
So Francis is Bryce, not actual officers.
Well, it's already all history all over everywhere else. It's all history all over everywhere else and on Google. What I've said.
We've got one addition.
I'd just like to sum up. I'd like to thank you very much for coming. I'm sure you haven't enjoyed it that much. I'd just like to sum up. I mean, there's been great concerns raised about these large developments and how they take place, with the Grayleigh site being an example, and my personal view has been a bit of a disaster. Because I can remember coming to Sleaford 12 years ago and seeing the marvellous plans that were being promoted at that time in terms of what that was going to look like, and it's not turned out like that at all. There is very little there for the residents of Grayleigh. They are quite divorced from the town, and it must be quite a difficult life they have in there in terms of actually carrying out their normal activities. I would like to hope that if this urban extension here, or the one down Hadley Chase, or the one on Granton Road, ever do take place, I'll come back to that, that there would be lessons learnt, and that we wouldn't have those same sort of errors again. But the nature of these developments and how they're subdivided across a number of builders makes it very difficult to actually ensure that the master plan is actually delivered. I think the thing that's missing out of all this is whether people will want to move into Sleaford and buy houses in Sleaford with all the negative aspects that have come with the development over the recent years, and will come even more so with the sort of property, the sort of building numbers that you're talking about here. Sleaford, it's all very well talking about the town centre and how you might develop it. The town centre is a very small area. We've got a development site, I accept, that nobody knows what to do with, but it's not as though you can actually put double the size of the shops in Sleaford town centre. Not as though anybody from the next century will ever get there, because we've already talked about the queues that exist on our network as it stands at the moment. I know I'm doing the same. And certainly, having chosen to put into the model, that the results of the model were completely ignored by NKDC and the County Council, because there were significant negative effects identified, which we just ignored. We'll sort it all out with bus priority, or cycling, And I have a feeling this is exactly what's going to happen yet again, and it will happen it will always happen this way, with the way that you are going about trying to deliver the regional requirements in a very small market town. And I'm afraid that Sleaford will suffer the consequence if this ever does see the light of day. I don't think it will be fine. We've got a complete raw split it stands at the moment, and I doubt very much if people will want to be ruling there.
I think we'll have to tie it up there.
I think we've got enough for us to work with a resolution, Chair.
Yes,
I'll do
I've got
that whilst you finish with each other and I'll just...
yes, can I thank you very much?
Thank you.
You're very welcome to come back to our premises.
Take it away that though.
Right, okay, we've got a draft resolution that the council resolves to delegate the submission.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you.
Right, the draft is that the council resolves to delegate the submission of the council's response to the SWE outline application to the chairman and holding members, plus a neighbourhood plan working group lead, and it should also read West Home members as well. I hasten to add. These councillors to have regard for the advice from the town council's planning consultants and discussion with NKDC planning officers.
Chairman, if I could add the issue that sits behind that resolution, I'm not necessarily saying that I agree with it personally. We have to have our response into NKDC by the 15th of July, which is not this week, next week. So we haven't got another full council meeting. We have to decide today how we're going to get a response in. And we must get a response in. This is a very important outline planning application that sits before us, and it has big ramifications for Sleaford. We have to make a proper, meaningful comment.
And what we want to get is a professional response that details a series of concerns so that we can get the best for the people of Sleaford. And I think this application is a very important one. Councillor Brand?
Could you just clarify, Chair, actually the names of the councillors will be on this? Because you rattled off a number of groups and subgroups.
Yes, right. The chairman, named myself, the holding members, which would be Councillor Jackson, Councillor Fernandez, and Councillor Charlesworth. And it would be the West Home members, who two of them I know have done a lot already, which is Councillor Brandt and Councillor Clegg. And we used to forget Councillor Lorimer, who's had good questions tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And another person mentioned is the chair of the neighbourhood plan working party, Councillor Coyne, who I hope that's a satisfactory proposal. Yeah, Councillor Jackson.
Could I ask to be excused from that, because I may be accused of prejudicing my comments of Steve, and I will certainly have a lot to say.
Councillor Clegg?
I think, again, it's standing on district, I think I would have a difficulty being on that team, but if I may also, I think there are an awful lot of people, if you exclude Councillor Councillor Jackson and myself, there's still a lot of people. I think we need to be very clear one is leading this response, and whether, as I said, there's still too many people on it.
Yes, I've got several hands up. I've got a suggestion who could lead it, but right, we've got Councillor Lorimer and Councillor Charlesworth.
Okay, well, as Councillor Aaron pointed out, we've got to have this resolution, whatever we're doing, in very quickly. So I'd be quite happy. I'm retired on Friday, I've got more time now. I'd be quite happy to be part of this group, because as a West Ham ward councillor, I'm always trying to get involved with various issues that are going on. So I'm quite prepared, if somebody calls a time and a place, for to be there.
Yes, Kevin will be calling the time and place.
Okay.
And Councillor Charlesworth?
Yeah, well, I accept that the district council has got a conflict of interest, but I think we've still got enough on this group to make it workable. If you get sounding rather like the first list that you read out, I'm happy to be honest, I can't speak for the rest. Councillor who wants to be chairman, but I would suggest Councillor Brown.
Yes.
Chairman, were you proposing this as a resolution?
Yes, as a resolution.
Has it been seconded by anybody?
That's from a town with second, that's going to get words.
Yes.
James should propose.
And I've modified it slightly to include West Home as well as Hawking
It's a
councils.
workable group, 117
And we've got two councillors who have decided to take themselves off it, which is Councillor Clegg and Jackson. So we have a much more manageable group.
Should we just list out the names then of who
Right.
what's been said by Councillor Jackson?
There's Councillor Fernandez, Charlesworth, Brand, Lorimer, Coyne, and there's still myself, because the legal advice I've received is slightly different. But I feel I've got my get out of jail clause, which is that I'll look at the application with what's the term? Open mind.
Remember, we are responding to, as a consultee, to a planning application.
Yes.
We have the material constraints of that, and I sent probably Globe and Anthony had covered it in their previous paper, so it will be quite tight. There will be no sort of open-ended subjectivity to what we actually comment on, I think.
So we're happy that those 6 do it.
Yeah.
I'll put it to the vote unless anyone's got any amendment. Can I see all those in favour?
1, 2, 3, you can vote 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, Chair. There's more hands up on that, so.
And anybody against and any abstentions?
2. 1, 2, sorry, that's 13, 2. I apologise, I came to Councillor Gray. 13, 4, 2 abstentions, Chair.
Right. Can I ask Fernandez?
Would it be possible for the clerk to give us the list of the actual, for the planning requirements? There's usually a list of.
We'll sort that out after the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Time is pressing, unless there's anything else you wish to say about this item. If not, we've got item number 3, apologies for absence.
Councillors